Good evening, traders, and welcome to the CloudChartist weekly Ichimoku wrap for the week ending April 29th. It is May 1st, and I'm making this video while watching the Portland Golden State Warriors game in the background, so I'll try not to be too distracted. Golden State is winning at the moment by a decent margin, 19 points. Anyway, we're looking at the ES here. Last week we saw some selling after lots of buying in the previous weeks. I'll zoom in to make it a little bit easier to see. So we failed to make a higher high and a higher low, and so we made a lower high and a lower low. So we've changed the trend from uptrend to downtrend. We did last week put in a big topping tail, so that was definitely a possible reversal candle, and indeed the reversal was confirmed. We see the Chikou over here, the red line representing price action time shifted 26 periods into the past, is resting exactly upon the cloud. Let me see if it's exactly or not. The cloud is at 205838. And we closed at 2060.25. So we did close slightly above the cloud. So the Chikou is finding support at the cloud. So that is something to keep an eye on. I've mentioned this over and over again in my videos. The Chikou is, sometimes people completely take it off their charts, which is crazy in my opinion. Chikou is super handy because, you know, we don't see any obvious support over in this area where current price is printing, but we do see that the Chikou is supported the cloud. So we could bounce from here, is what I'm making this point about the Chikou. If we do not bounce, and the Chikou indeed actually enters the cloud, then we do have some prior horizontal support levels at, you know, around 2030, 2040, let's say. And if we lose that area, I'm going to look for, again, there's, you know, a little bit more horizontal support at around 2030 area. And below that, 2013 is where the Tenkan Sen is offering support to current price. That could be in a different location when the new candle opens up, or it could be sideways. I definitely would expect it to change its pitch from being pointed straight up to tilted at least, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it being going flat. So if we do see continued selling, 2013 is really my target. I can say that if it does go lower than that, we have the cloud to offer support below that. The cloud currently located at around 1980 thereabouts. The cloud is very thin here, so it does not offer a lot of support as it would in areas where the cloud is thicker. So if we do lose the thin cloud here, we can look for a potential move all the way down to 1956.38. I'm just giving you some parameters. I'm not expecting such a big move. We're still bullish over the cloud. Tenkan Sen is bull crossed over the Kijun Sen. So it's a little bit too early to be getting bearish. The only thing that's bearish is that we are in a downtrend presently on the weekly time frame. All right, let's look at crude next. Crude put in a very bullish week last week and did hit my weekly target. My weekly target was based on the Chikou coming into the Tenkan Sen, and the Chikou, the Tenkan Sen is currently at 46.75 where the Chikou is, and so indeed we did hit that level. We put in a high of 46.78, so 3 ticks above my target. And then we did get some selling at the, you know, on Friday. This is when the target was hit, and then we did get some selling. So what do we have going forward? Crude is still bearish under the cloud. So until it gets into the cloud, it's still bearish, although we are in a nice uptrend right now, and that wasn't really that much selling. It's important for the Chikou to get above that 46.75 level to see any price action moving higher. But if we do get price action moving higher, we do have the cloud offering resistance up here at around, let's see, 48.28. So if we do make it back over that 46.75 level, I would look for 48.28 to act as pretty major resistance ahead. We do have a bull cross Tenkan-sen over the Kijun-sen, although bull crosses don't mean as much when they're under the cloud as they do if they're over the cloud. If we do get a reversal and get a move lower, that trend change could be confirmed by a lower high and a lower low. We can expect for a bunch of different potential support levels to come into play. We obviously have one here, prior resistance turn support around 48.30 thereabouts. I mean, I'm sorry, what am I saying? No, I don't mean 48.30, I mean 43.80. It's a little dyslexic there. You can see that was an important horizontal level back here. And then we do have some other support turned resistance, turned support, turned resistance around 40.50 thereabouts, and then the Tenkan-sen is currently at 39.55, so obviously that offers support too, but I would expect it would be higher when the new candle opens, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the Tenkan-sen up here more over 41.25, something like that. That's about it for crude. Sorry, I was distracted by Steph Curry being interviewed and I can't hear it because my sound is off. Anyway, let's look at the Dow. And even if you're not a basketball fan, I'm sure you know who Steph Curry is by now. I think Steph Curry could run for president and get elected right now. He's so hot. Looking at the Dow, we see that the Chikou is indeed trying to find support at the top of the cloud. It's actually closed slightly inside the cloud. But you see that the Dow did have support in this area last week and did find some buyers off the lows. So that's relatively important. Dow is still bullish. It's over the cloud, over the Tenkan-sen. Tenkan-sen is bull cross over the Kijun-sen. The cloud is flat below, which is significant because flat clouds, anything flat in Ichimoku often attracts price. We do have a lower high and a lower low, so do have a new trend to the downside. So if we do move lower, we have support level around the 17,490 level, let's call it that. And then we'll have support at the Tenkan-sen wherever the Tenkan-sen opens up. Especially if the Tenkan-sen decides to go flat when the new candle opens up, then it would definitely attract price lower and towards it. But currently this Tenkan-sen's at 17,258. Let's look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is finding perfect support right at the top of the cloud after coming down and touching the Kijun-sen. I mean, Ichimoku charts don't get much more beautiful than this, right? The Kijun-sen is located at 4,388. The low of this candle was 42.9675, so it just got pierced just slightly under the Kijun-sen here, and then caught a significant bounce to the top of the cloud being at 43.3238, and we closed at 43.35. So we closed just slightly over the top of the cloud. Even though these are tiny numbers that they're either above or below or whatever, that it's significant. So I would not be surprised to see NASDAQ hold the cloud here and go and move higher. I'm not saying that it will do that. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised. Also, it's possible that we could retest the Kijun-sen down at 4,300.88, 4,300 area. If we do lose that 4,300 area, then we will be losing cloud support. So that would be a significant move from bullish to bearish on the weekly time frame for NASDAQ. If we do get a bounce, we're going to need to get back above the Tenkan-sen. I expect the Tenkan-sen will probably flatten out, maybe right at this 43.82 level. We'll have to look for a bounce to get price action back over the Tenkan-sen wherever the Tenkan-sen opens up next week. We do have a flat cloud for the next few weeks, for the rest of May really, and then we have a rising cloud. Then we have, as we move into the end of this summer, then we have a flattening and lower cloud. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me to see price action just sort of stay in this range right around the cloud, because a thin and sideways cloud looks for thin and sideways price action. And I don't mean thin, illiquid, but I kind of do, because the summertime is more illiquid generally than the rest of the year. Especially last year seemed to be that way for sure. All right, let's look at the Russell. The Russell, we see that price action is bearish. It's still under the cloud. We are in a nice uptrend, and last week we still continued that uptrend, but we did come into resistance. Let me zoom in. See that the Russell, it didn't actually tag the cloud. The cloud is located here at 1156.80, and we put in a high of 1154.50, so missed it by just under 3 points, and then reversed lower. But we did still put in a higher high and a higher low, and we did close in the middle of last candle. So uptrend is still intact for the Russell. If we do get a move higher, the cloud is going to be slightly higher this week. It's going to be back closer to 11, or exactly at around 1159.10 is where we'll find resistance if we do move higher next week. And if we do move lower, we can expect potential support at the Tenkan Sen. The Tenkan Sen is currently at 1090.30. I would expect it to be higher, because we did have an uptrend still intact here on the Russell. So Tenkan Sen should potentially move higher. If we look back here at the Chikou, we see that Chikou is trying to hold support. I could zoom into this area here. Chikou is trying to hold support of the Tenkan Sen, but put in a close slightly under it. So if we want price to move higher, then the Chikou is going to need to reverse back above the Tenkan Sen, and then it can potentially find resistance at the bottom of this candle here, which is at 1157.10, and then the bottom of the cloud also, which is at 1157.90. Keep those levels in mind for the Russell. Let's see, Russell, Dow, NASDAQ. Let's look at some Treasury bonds. Looking at the ZB, we see that we're still in a downtrend for the bonds, although we did get a solid bounce off the Kijun Sen down here, which I mentioned, I'm sure, last week. We could potentially see a bounce off the Kijun Sen. We did test slightly below the Kijun Sen, put in a hammer type reversal candle. So one might expect, let me zoom in, that we could see price action continuing higher, perhaps up to the Tenkan Sen at 164.02, which should offer resistance for the 30-year Treasury bonds. We don't necessarily have to see a trend change, though. We could see a retest of the Kijun Sen at 161.03, and if we do retest the Kijun Sen, then anyone who's bullish on bonds is going to want to see that level held on a closing basis. Otherwise, we would be looking for lower prices in the coming week after this. We're still bullish, even if we do lose the Kijun Sen. We're still bullish overall because we are over the cloud. Tenkan Sen, the Chikou, this red line over here representing price action time shifted 26 periods into the past, is completely bullish, and price action is free to move higher here. Let's look at the 10-year. Attempting to look at the 10-year. Probably slowed down by my basketball on my 23-inch screen. All right, looking at the Tzion contract, we see that we are still in a downtrend. We did put in a lower high and a lower low. We came down and tested very similar to the ZB contract. Came down and tested slightly below the Kijun Sen and put in a bounce. We did put in a bounce and close over the Tenkan Sen. So technically, despite the fact that we're still in a downtrend here, we are bullish in always Ichimoku. The Chikou is bouncing here. If we do find sellers, we can look for support at the 129.215 Tenkan Sen here, and then if we continue to get sold, we can look at support at 129.050. And then if we move higher, you can see there's some obvious horizontal resistance around 131.020, thereabouts. Let's look at the metals. Metals put in a very interesting week last week, very bullish after this chopping bull flag type pattern. One might be able to argue some kind of pennant type breakout. Voila. It's a little bit tricky because we put in these big tails above it, but on a closing basis, there was this obvious trend line. Same here. Boom. So we did, blast northwards. You can see by the RSI, we are overbought on almost every time frame on gold. Oh, actually, we're not quite into the overbought territory, but we are pretty close. Sorry for that misrepresentation there. But we are bullish in all ways Ichimoku. However, we do have a lower cloud ahead, coming down even to quite a dip, but that's not until August. But we do have a flat cloud below. So it's important, if you want to remain bullish on gold, that price action stays above the Tenkan Sen, which is currently at 1252.50. So keep an eye on that level. Then as far as what's going on higher for gold, we can look at we can see that there was obvious horizontal resistance right around where we are right now. And then we can find some other horizontal resistance levels around 1340 and around 1382, let's say. And without drawing fibs, that's all I'm going to give you for gold. Let's look at silver. Silver, I was really surprised at how bullish silver was. The dollar got killed though in that Bank of Japan drama where the yen went ripping and the Nikkei dropped 1,400 points in one day, and then more the next day. I don't quite understand that whole Bank of Japan announcement. I won't get into it, but it seems to be the catalyst for what's been causing this correction going on in the last few days since that happened in the markets. So interestingly, we see the Chikou, the red line here, representing price time shifted 26 periods into the past. The Chikou is exactly at the top of the cloud. Top of the cloud, 1789. We closed at 1789. How about that? Like magic. So I would not be surprised to see some flagging action before a potential move either higher or lower on silver. This was an extremely strong move. We could continue blasting higher. We could also maybe, if we wanted to get creative, look at this pattern here as a inverse head and shoulders. How about that? It's a little bit questionable how to draw the neckline. I'd say we could draw it around here, 1620 thereabouts. Looks pretty good to me. And then we would want to measure the move. There's a little lesson on inverse head and shoulders. So the measured move goes to the low, from the neckline to the low. And we could take this. I have to scale down. Oops. Move this over here. Put it at the top of the neckline. Boom. So if you do believe that this is a inverse head and shoulders type pattern, the measured move is leading up here to around 1879, 1878, thereabouts. So that's just a thought. If we do see a move higher. Otherwise, flagging action and even a pullback back towards the Tenkan-sen would not surprise me for silver. All right, let's look at the Nikkei, speaking of which. So the Nikkei was bearish prior to this drama, but it was in an uptrend heading up towards this arc in the clouds we see here. But then after this reversal, conveniently at this prior resistance level or thereabouts, pretty close to this prior resistance level where we also reversed. We reversed once again and put in a close below the Kijun-sen and below the Tenkan-sen. So this chart is fully bearish in all ways Ichimoku. The Kijun-sen is bear cross, meaning it's above the Tenkan-sen, and the Chikou is below the cloud and pointing down. This is quite bearish. So if we do move lower, we can see that we do have a sturdy looking horizontal support level here around 15,840 thereabouts. And then we have another horizontal support level down here around 15,447. And then below that, we just have this spike to rely on down to 14,783. So those are some levels we can look at to the downside if we do continue selling. If we do get a bounce, we can look for the Nikkei to find resistance at the Tenkan-sen at 16,600 right here. If we get a bounce even higher, we can expect continue more resistance at the Kijun-sen above, which is at 17,438. Let's look at dollar yen since we're talking about Japanese things. And I happen to have fibs on this chart. In case you're new to my videos, I draw my fibs slightly differently. Sometimes I draw them from real candle bodies instead of wicks. The wicks aren't very big here, so it's not that important, really. You see that we did, and the fibs here are not that important. In fact, why don't I just get rid of them, not even talk about them. All right. Now you know a secret to my fibs. So in Ichimoku terms, this chart is fully bearish. We see that we had last week made progress and a close over the Tenkan-sen, which was confirming a reversal, which happened after we put in this potential reversal candle 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. We did reverse and go higher, and then we got smashed down by that BOJ news. We do still have a pretty flat Tenkan-sen and a pretty flat Kijun-sen above, so if we do get a reversal higher, we can look for potential resistance around this 108.76 level, and then also resistance at the Tenkan-sen at 110.32, or wherever the Tenkan-sen, well, I guess it looks like the Tenkan-sen is already open because FX is already open, and this new candle is already open also. Yeah, so look at that. Let's keep an eye on that 110.32 level if we do get a move higher on dollar yen. Let's look at corn. I haven't been looking at the commodities lately. I thought my videos were a little bit too long. We see that corn had been getting a really nice bounce off the bottom, and then the week before last it put in this nasty looking potential reversal candle. Last week we did not reverse per se. We put an inside candle in. We put in a lower high and a higher low, and we did after finding support at the Tenkan-sen here, and we did close inside the cloud. So we went from bullish to being neutral. That could be significant for corn going higher. So we're looking at the potential range inside the cloud. So we're looking at support around where the current level is. We're 392. And resistance up here at the top of the cloud at 400.5. So if you are looking for move higher, watch out for that 400.50 level in corn. And let's look at coffee. The other grains, I believe, are pretty similar to corn. I could be wrong. I'm going to be lazy and not look at them all and keep this video on the short side. It's getting late. Coffee put in a spike into the cloud the week before last, and then last week put in a lower high and a lower low, and closed just underneath the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen. So not looking particularly bullish for coffee. Looks like some sideways action is due underneath the cloud. If we do get a move higher, we can look for the cloud to potentially resist at this 127.50 thereabouts area. Well, it looks like I missed an ejection going on in this Golden State Warriors game. That is unfortunate. I'll have to get filled in on that later. It looks like a player is walking off the court. Let's look at the dollar before I let you go. I did look at dollar yen, but it's important to look at the dollar by itself. It's the flawed DX contract, because it's not really the dollar by itself. Obviously, it can't really be, because you can't compare a currency to other currencies without any other currencies. But let's just look at this chart, and we see that the DX contract has lost the cloud. So the dollar went from being neutral, it's been neutral for several weeks now, to being bearish. And let's just take a look at Apple real quick, because we know that there was a lot of drama going on in Apple after they missed earnings and after Carl Icahn sold all of his shares. Reactionarily, perhaps? I don't know. Maybe he wanted to buy them back cheaper. So we see that Apple has sold down to this prior support area, so it will be interesting to see whether or not it's able to hold this prior support area or not. Around, you can see this, we did get some selling and a very significant bounce back in last August, and back into the cloud after this significant sell-off. So we'll see if this support area around 92 can hold. We do have a flat cloud above us and an arc of the cloud. Normally that would attract price action towards it, so that is one thing to be hopeful for if you're bullish. If we do get a move to the upside, we can look for resistance at the Tenkan-sen, which is currently at 102.45, and I would expect to be lower, maybe down around the 99 level when the next candle opens up. All right, I'm gonna stop there. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you for following me, if you're following me on Twitter. If you're interested in learning more about Ichimoku, I do have a chat room. You can find out more about that on my website, CloudChartist.com. If you want to ask me any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter at CloudChartist, or you can email me, cloudchartist@gmail.com. Thanks again, and good luck trading this week.